we're at such a weird part for some of the characters because when it comes to the Erasion Saints, it's like you bring them back and it's hard for some of them, I would say, in terms of like whenever you're at levels of what is the relevant level for characters that would be going up against the main cast. And when you have again the Erasion Saints, it's not like again that they're just some band of randoms. All of them have high levels of potential and capability, but that's going to vary. I've mentioned before, out of them, the ones I guess I'll say like specifically out of these six because these are the six we're using for the scenario with the Erasion Sex, but really I would say three of them because you have the ones that are capable, but I really wouldn't put I wouldn't put any money on them, and that being Angel, Hot Eye, and Racer. Serrano, Richard, and Sawyer, and the three that I would probably say like if have the potential to turn around their fights just based off of their own levels that we've been shown would be Midnight, Cobra, and Merity, because Merity's in there just she's tagging in to come help. She's the one that I would say like out of those three, well, Zero and Midnight, really it's like all of them in a lot of ways are in rough spots. But with her, she's like the weird one because Gate seems to be their sleeper wild card. Zero for Midnight, I've mentioned, I just don't really see Midnight winning, and it'd be really weird to bring Zero back and then just have him lose in the first like fight really he ends up being in. But the one that is the most interesting to me, because it's the weirdest in terms of how it has been represented and shown us in the story, is Blade versus Cobra. The reason this is weird is, one, I always say like for characters, like when it comes to their magic, you have to think about like what the magic the person is, and obviously like where they sit in the story in order to say like how much is like could this turn into a them chapter. And Cobra's one of them. Obviously Cobra has had a long standing in the verse. Every time the Erasion Stays show up, he's the one that has the most spotlight out of them. He's a very popular character. People just end up liking Cobra in most cases when it comes to the series. Like Cobra, this key to the story Skyark, I always say like the big thing if you're like on the fence about watching it is like if you're a Mira Jane fan or a Cobra fan, I would definitely recommend watching it. But with Cobra opened into this arc with the whole bit where he was like hanging out with Fairy Tail a little bit, hanging out with Kinana, and then having that confrontation and altercation with Warren. So like to me, they're like, why exactly would he be shown in this scenario, especially like if he's like, hey, let me give some backstory, some just information on what's up. It wasn't just like, hey, I'm gonna have a chapter about me and it's like a funny thing. It had information that made it seem like it was important for later. And I think with Warren showing that even though the clear gap between Cobra and Warren is there, just when it comes to the specialization that Warren has, he was able to just go nope right around all of Cobra's hearing magic and how he goes about his utilization of said magic. But to me, it's like, okay, well, does that indicate that there's going to be some form of event following where he's going to be in the story? And then we have the Erasion Sex show up in the series, the Erasion Sex follow. This to me tells me that Cobra has something larger scale in the works, and I think right now we're at a perfect spot where that could really just like unfold in the next couple chapters. And this is how I see it happening. I don't really see any of the Sace members winning their fights. I think Cobra is the only one that has the potential, but still, I think Blade is. I think Blade is a really cool counter to him, and it would be really good to have an opponent for him to fight later. That like again, if he like, let me tell you this: if Cobra, this would be how you instantly like take Cobra and move him up a whole tier of character. Is if after some of the events when the characters are like, okay, we got to reconvene and figure out what's going on. Like maybe he ends up just like going to where Diablos is or going to where Fairy Tail is, and he's like, hey guys, listen, I don't really give a shit about this quest, but like I got involvement now. Because I think it'd be really cool if all the Sace members got captured and maybe turned into Aetherius demons, kind of like just in general. I guess specifically you'd have to go like Hell's Core with like Mira Jane and Liz Ferris, just like, yeah, let me do my own thing to turn you into a living Aetherius in a different style, and just like let me skip past it. But the idea of them being in a spot where he has to rescue them, I think would be really, really cool. Because it would put so much on his character all of a sudden, but also it would show like even though these SACE members aren't like the closest, it would just be like, well, they were in my squad, we have history together, and I know that even though they pissed me off, they would have my back in a similar scenario, which is good. I think that would really do a lot for his character, but I love the idea again of him going out of his way to like track down Diablos and figuring out what's going on there. Maybe he could have a moment like Laxus and rip the Lacrima out of his chest. I think it'd be really cool in terms of also the world building if we keep that as consistent. Like maybe getting the Dragon Lacrima, one of the things about it is you're able to fast pass getting into being a Dragon Slayer because obviously you have this piece of one that's been refined and you directly put it in your body. But maybe after a while, it slowly kind of gimps you. It's like, you take like an athlete takes like a steroid before like a specific event versus like they're taking it all the time, and it's like it's going to juice you up but at the cost of what your body produces naturally. And maybe that's a similar thing with how these Dragon Lacrima work, and that's what happened with Laxus, where it's like it boosted his strength and capability, but at a point like his body was almost dependent on it. And maybe again that could be something involving with Dragon Slaying magic, or maybe the Lacrima, because of that, it slows down the process. And them, in terms of their magic as natural wizards, can progress at a regular rate, but maybe their Dragon Slaying magic would progress much slower. So they're not also getting that baseline increase. It's like as your dragonification and the dragon DNA within your body advances, it's going to advance all of your general capabilities and stats that come with Dragon Slaying magic in the first place. So Cobra, I again, I love the idea of Cobra losing here. I think Cobra should lose and give him an opponent to fight later. I just realized I have some licorice still in my pocket. But as it were, if he as a character right now, if he just wins, I don't know where his character would go. It'd just be like, sweet, I got to win, and then like what he goes and could have the same thing where he's like, oh, I want to go rescue the SACE members. But I think it'd be much cooler and much more well done if, in the process of it, he has somebody that he has to get through, someone like Blade, because like the other members, I think that also like in terms of the design and like just being able to get through and around his hearing magic, which clearly Cobra has a level of reliability and dependence on, but at the same time, like the snake sword is really cool. I mean, I'm sure once he uses his Darius form, he's gonna have some really cool snake humanoid form that he's got going on. Maybe one of his arms is like a giant blade snake thing going. That'd be actually really cool. Maybe we can get him the black key and he can combine that in there. And it'll be like, listen, now I'm even cooler. I'm even edgier. I got a giant blade, literally a blade on the chin of that black snake. So it's like it all lines up for him. Blade is just like, yes, this is what I should have done all along. Maybe I shouldn't have gone for the sword. But I'm just wondering primarily for Cobra is, from this entire situation, what is he going to gain out of it? What is he going to be able to look at where he's at post this match and say, okay, what am I going to do? Where am I going from here? Because if Cobra just like, say like Cobra wins, like he turns the fight around in the next chapter or so, the SACE don't get like captured or something happens to them, like they get them all out of there. The problem I have with that scenario isn't like, if we got like a just straight Cobra focused chapter and Cobra had this really cool character moment and like maybe pulled out like a secret, Dragon Slayer secret technique. We've been waiting for him and Rogue to do it at some point, and maybe we just leave Rogue behind in this one, and Rogue will do it when he finally pulls out the sword. That's what we'll find out, is like the sword seals away his Dragon Slayer secret art. But something like that for Cobra, where Cobra has a really cool moment, I want him to get it. But I think it would be much better if he got it later, because if he takes an L here, it would prop up his character to have such a nice comeback, but also it would give him more reason for, as a character, to be involved with things if, again, his friends are directly captured and he's just like, I can't abandon them. Like if he gets in that scenario, there's no like, oh, if Natsuna's guy's got it. It's gonna be like, no, I don't care. Even if I'm like the weakest out of the group, I'm gonna be there and I'm gonna put in any amount of effort I can to help my squad. Because even though they're not in the same guild anymore, like again, he's got a history with them. Because even if you think about it like this too, it's not just Arasion SACE history. They were all in the tower together. So all of them at some point as children were all just being tormented and abused and hurt and afraid in this, in this slave tower. And I think that it's something that all of them, just at the end of the day, they all have a level of solidarity towards. And it's like, even if they piss each other off, it's like they all came from somewhere that could be much worse than relatively every single scenario that they're going to be in. Like 99% of scenarios in life probably aren't going to be worse than being in a, captured by a child slave, a child enslaving cult. I was going to say child slave cult. They're evil children that are kidnapping people. But Cobra right now, to me, I think we're at a very strong point at where we're going to see his character go in this arc. And if we keep getting the SACE members picked off, and again, I think it would be amazing if there's just like him having one of those moments where he doesn't stop, he just keeps going, but he's like defeated in the process, where like maybe he just goes unconscious. And or it'd be really cool if he could fight, kind of like how Natsu would like fight automatically when he's just not thinking. If Cobra's body could fight while unconscious, to where it's like instinctually moving, and maybe like work that in for something. I don't know. I'm trying to think of some like really badass way you could like improve for Cobra's character, and maybe that's how he can't, like, that would be really cool if it's like he doesn't get captured because Blade can't get near him at that point, where it's like, I don't know why, but like while he's in this state, his full potential, like a level of strength he couldn't normally pull out, is on display, where Cobra is like just like innate skill and ability. It's like maybe it's something that only a poison dragon could do. It's just like something as like a special skill to them. So in this scenario, his body was pushed to the point where it just is able to pull out this instinctual ability, and he's able to not again get captured because of it. I don't know. It'd be really, really like hype inducing and give me so much hope for his character if we could get something like that, because it'd be so valuable to have another plot point going on that doesn't have anything to do with the main cast. It has nothing to do with the, with the 100 Years quest. It has nothing to do really with anything from Igneous side. It specifically, if you look at it, just it'd be like a Ferris corner, and it would give Ferris further weight as a villain if she and her crew are, directly messing with the happiness of this guy who's been a long-standing favorite out of the. I'm wondering where Cobra ranks overall, but still a fan favorite of, of the viewers. So we'll see on that front. We'll see where he ends up in the next chapter or two. I'm guessing the next chapter will start directly where we left off, just based off of like it like one thing I'll mention is the previous chapter when I had with Gaia talking about how, he's the, love of the earth. And then this chapter was it like Wicked Prayers? What was the exact chapter title? Essence of Wicked Prayers, I'm pretty sure it was. Which makes me think, I don't think that was the, like, in reference to the SACE. I'm guessing that has to do, oh, no, that was last chapter. This chapter's the SACE bond. Am I thinking of something else? Am I thinking of a different series? What am I thinking of? Oh, no, that was when they showed up, I think. I think that was when they showed up. That was the name of the chapter. I was like, I'm not thinking of something completely different. No, I think that was just a different chapter within this area. But it was like something like that. Essence, yeah, the 175, like right when their fights started to kind of really pick up. I'm guessing that has to do with the Oracion sex as like their version of like the SACE. No, hiccup there. The SACE having their prayers. Is it's going to be like an evil villain prayer. And we're going to see maybe something like that in the next chapter, maybe from Blade, where Blade gives a note of it. And it's going to be in contrast to Cobra. If we can get something like that, then for sure he's going to be a Cobra main enemy. And that's another thing I want to mention. I will be so happy if we go down some form of pathway like this, because I love the idea as well if Gate is actually an opponent for Lucy, because it seems like he has some type of summoning magic. If members of the Oracion sex could get, ideally, like maybe not like right next chapter everybody has an opponent for the future, but it's like if you have an idea, like if something happens to where Damon, like say Damon because of the way that she throttled Serrano, gets to Yukino. Yukino had that moment with Mira Jane at a point, and maybe Mira Jane finds out, and it's like even though they are like close, she is able to like really connect with her, and it's like this person defeated and took your older sister away, and she's like remembers the story of like talking to her about it, and she's just like Mira Jane has a personal reason to get locked in, so then it's like, okay, this has to be a Mira Jane opponent then for sure. And you just kind of like start spreading some of the, you know, oh, maybe Gaia fights Godjill, maybe like I said, Gate is a Lucy opponent. Maybe we're gonna get Zero, and Zero's actually gonna fight Gray this time. Something like that that really kind of, you know, gives us an idea of where these characters are gonna be going. But at the same time, it's like I love having an idea of like some of the fights where it's not gonna be just for the main cast in terms of the direct ongoing 100 Years quest and stuff with Ignite. I love the fact that we're having these other areas opened and other characters having reasons to be potentially involved with ongoing events in the story without it just being, hey, we need your help with, you know, what's going on 100 Years quest. It feels more of like the large scale events all intertwining rather than just like, this is what we've got going on right now, we're gonna get this done, and then we'll figure out what you know, what comes after that, or if there's anything that we missed in the process. So I'm so stoked for it. Like I said, I've really enjoyed the last 2 chapters before this. I've said it should have been 1 chapter, but like the end with Gaia and Hot Eye and then opening into this chapter, I've had a lot of fun with, and I've been really enjoying seeing the sex members just be threatening. They're just being a dangerous villain cast, and that's one of the reasons too I don't think Cobra's got it in the next chapter. I think that he's gonna have to come back and fight Blade in a rematch. And this scenario, maybe this will be his resume to join the guild. Is he's like, what exactly are your qualifications for joining the Fairy Tail Guild? And he's like, well, I lost to this guy, but then I worked it out. I came back and I beat him. And he said, you gonna lose to the second guy twice, or the same guy twice? And he's like, yeah, well, that's kind of what happened. Yeah, he's like, it's something we like around here. God damn it, you're hired. And Gray's just standing there like, yeah, I made that a thing. Anyway, other than that, I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Bye.